Hey, struggle streamers, Heather here, diving into the free streaming universe to bring you the gems, the flops, and the what the heck did I just watch movies, all streaming for free on your devices. Today, we're talking tennis. And as a Gen X woman, I feel like I grew up in this weird golden age of professional tennis. So, when I was very young, John McEnroe was throwing rackets and throwing tantrums and getting tons of attention. And then when I was in middle school, Andre Agassi walks onto the scene with his jean shorts and his sexy pony hair. And then when I was in high school, my math teacher just thought that Jennifer Capriati was the next big thing. And then the next thing you know, she's shoplifting from the mall and she has to do rehab or something because she was in possession of some weed. And like that was so scandalous in the 90s. And then, of course, Monica Seles got stabbed on the court in the middle of a game. It was like a crazy, crazy time for tennis. And as an adult, I haven't really followed tennis. It definitely turned very fashionable in the 2000s with the Williams sisters and all that, but I haven't really kept up with it. But the US Open just wrapped up, and Tubi dropped a documentary about Naomi Osaka. And I don't know much about her, except that I do kind of vaguely recall her tearful departure from tennis a few years ago to really concentrate on her mental health. And good for her, proud of her for that. But I don't really know much about her other than that. And that's kind of where this documentary picks up from. So let's serve up Naomi Osaka, the second set. The doc, it chronicles Naomi Osaka's return to world-class tennis after giving birth to her daughter. So she took that break, and in that break, she had a baby named Shai Shai. Very precious story about motherhood and trying to get back to what you once were after you have a baby, because it's a really monumental change in life. So we kind of get to see up close how she defies getting caught in the net of other people's expectations as she navigates her return. The movie was directed by Kathleen Jamie, and it was released just this past July 2025, and it's a comfortable 1 hour and 41 minutes long. I love an underdog story and a triumphant comeback, but this one didn't quite get there for me. So, brief summary here. Before her daughter was born, Naomi Osaka was known for a really powerful game. She's won 4 Grand Slam singles titles, 2 at the US Open and 1 at the Australian Open. Her 2018 victory made her the first Asian or the first Japanese player to she was the first Japanese player to hold the #1 ranking in tennis singles. I believe I got all those stats correct. Forgive me if I'm wrong. But anyway, in the second set, we sort of meet her comeback entourage, but we don't really get to know them all that well. They're always around her and supporting her, and I don't know. I just didn't really get a good feel for any of them and what their role was. We did actually, though, get to meet her mother. Her mother did quite a few interviews, and she was really kind of the energy that this documentary needed because Naomi Osaka is a very soft spoken person. So her mom, come here, her mom brought some much needed energy to this movie. We did get to experience her postpartum challenges. She started training, I believe it was 6 months after she gave birth, which I think is crazy because after you have a baby, it takes months just to like poop without pain. So, how she challenged herself to become an elite level athlete after giving birth just amazes me. And really, I hope there was someone in her life who said, you don't have to push yourself this hard. You just had a baby. But we'll never know. It didn't touch on that. The documentary didn't mention that at all. But anyway, I do think that had this been like a theatrical release, it would struggle to find its audience. And I think the audience who did go to see this film would be kind of disappointed because it took until like the 1 hour mark to really hit the big theme that I think should have been addressed way, way earlier. That being, once you have kids, time becomes your most precious currency, whether you're an athlete or a stay at home parent. Um, and so when she came back to playing, she did have some losses and she took them very hard. And she felt as though every loss was time she lost with her daughter because she's over in Europe, her daughter's in the US, like they're continents away. And you want your time as a parent, you want your time to be meaningful. Um, you want there to be a reason behind not being with your kids. And so if you're out there putting yourself on the court and you're not winning, you feel like you're losing as an athlete, you feel like you're losing as a parent. That theme right there, I think, would have been what really like tugged at the heartstrings of the audience, and really should have been more heavily emphasized. That's just my opinion. We did get a lot of shots of her training, like getting back into shape, and there were some scenes where she's out competing. But the plot isn't the most engaging. There's a lot of potential there, but there was at one point there after a loss, there's a scene where I think she's laying on the ground and her team is all around her and she's crying. And I couldn't help but think of the scene from Katy Perry Part of Me when she's literally about to go on stage. You can hear the crowd in the background, you can hear the band playing. She just has to get on the elevator and go up to the stage. But she's backstage, she's in tears because her husband just dumped her by a text message and she's crying and she's trying to get it together, and it's such an emotional scene. I feel like this scene in the Osaka documentary really could have worked in that same manner. But it didn't hit that emotional thing. In the Katy Perry documentary, she gets it together. She gets on the elevator that's right under the stage. You can see her face is just so upset, so sad, but she takes a deep breath. She puts a smile on and she goes on with the show. And you just feel for her in that moment because you know you've had a bad day at work. You know how crappy it is to have to get through your day when you're emotionally drained. Like, she just put on a concert after her husband dumped her on text. That's so crappy. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. I feel like that moment of Osaka on the ground in tears really could have had that same emotional impact, and it didn't hit the mark. In terms of direction, I think the director Kathleen Jamie did an adequate job with the material she had. Because Osaka is so kind of introverted and soft spoken, there wasn't a lot of flamboyance or drama to build the film around. Like, she's the exact opposite of like a Dennis Rodman who's all showman and like shocking and just made for the camera. Osaka is a little bit more reserved. I mean, a lot bit more reserved than a character like that. And so Jamie seems to do the best she can with that material, and she really is carving out a nice space for herself in the sports documentary category. She does have a couple other films on Tubi that you can stream for free, and I think I might check those out because I really love that A, she's a female director, B, she's a female director in the sports space. Like, that's awesome. That's super cool, and that's a voice that needs to be heard more of. So, I'm definitely excited to see what else she has in store. Like I said, in terms of performances, Naomi's mother is definitely a bright point in this film. Her energy just boosts the narrative really nicely. It gives background into her childhood and like how how she came to be where she is today. So that was fantastic that she was included there. In terms of cinematography and visuals, It was fine, but my old lady eyes, they kinda struggled with some of these collages. They would have, like, these collages of social media posts, um, and I was like, "Am I supposed to pause the movie to read all this? Or, like, this is, like, happening too fast. I can't read it all on the screen. I'm gonna need my reading glasses." Like, it was just a little bit much for me. I wish it was fleshed out a little bit better. Um, in terms of themes of this movie, I mean, it's very clear that she has a huge love for her baby. She loves her little Shy so, so much. She's the light of her life, and everybody around her as well. But there's also a scene where, she feels like she's Naomi Osaka, the athlete first, and mom second, and she kinda resents being regarded as, like, a mom on a mission, as they say in this film. She doesn't want to be a mom athlete, she wants to be an athlete. I get where she's coming from, but I do struggle with it a little bit in terms of relating to that attitude, because I have a child who has a disability, and I don't have the money to hire a squad to take care of her while I go live my dreams. Like, I've had to change my career and change my schedule and change my dreams to support my child. So that just didn't really, that kinda hit me wrong. Um, the story does a nice job of highlighting how difficult it is for women to recover after becoming a parent and get back into life versus how easy it is for man. Obviously, you know, a man becomes a father and the next day he can go to work and carry on with his life. It's not the same way for women, but that's a privilege, I feel like. Like, that's really something unique and incredibly special that women have that men don't get to experience. I don't really have any lasting impressions from this documentary. It was interesting. I learned a lot about, or well, maybe not a lot, but I learned about an athlete that I didn't know much about prior. I was mostly underwhelmed. I'm definitely interested in seeing what the director will do next. I think she has a very promising future ahead of her, and I can't wait to see what else she does. So that's it. If you enjoyed my review, please leave a like. Please subscribe if you enjoyed it. And let me know in the comment section. Did you think Naomi Osaka, the second set, was brilliant or busted? Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you in the next video.